नमस्ते, हमेशा खुश रहो बिटिया। I am JBN Dr. Anamika Ahirwar, Associate Professor in the Department of Science and Technology at Jayoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, Jaipur. Today I am going to tell you about production systems. This is one of the part of this AI, that is artificial intelligence, in which of course if you are developing, if you give some intelligence power artificially to some kind of machine, then of course you are just going to give some production, and of course you are developing a system like production. Okay, so let's start today's topic. So first of all, you would like to know about knowledge representation, because knowledge is the most important part, or you can say information is also another part which is very important for everywhere, for the task which you have assigned. Okay, so it is up to you how beneficially, how in a perfect manner you are using your knowledge, you are using your information which you have already. Okay, so knowledge of course it is an important part. Now if you know the knowledge, and or you can say if you have a knowledge, then you need to require to represent that knowledge, of course. Okay, so a knowledge representation means it is a formulation which consists of collections of condition action rules. What I am saying here is condition action rules means there, if you are performing, if you are doing any task, means there is something which is something required different. Okay, as compared to other tasks, and that if that task there is some different requirement, so there is a condition action rules. Okay, so here I am using that formalism consists of collections of condition actions rules. That means you can say this is a production rules or operators, right? And it is a database which is modified in accordance with the rules, and a production system interpreter which controls the operation of the rules. So for everything, if you want to execute, of course there is a requirement of monitoring, there is a requirement of controlling, and for this you need to give some kind of, or you can implement some operations. Okay, so on the basis of those operations you can be able to monitor, you can be able to control the system. Now here, this production system interpreter which controls the operations of the rules, that means the control mechanism of a production system determining the order in which production rules are fired. As I am saying that there is a need to determine what is your desire, what is the requirement of that production. Okay, so a system that uses this form of knowledge representation is called a production system. Means for every assignment, for every task, for every process, there is a system. There need to follow some protocol. So on the basis of production, on the basis of that protocol, you have some knowledge. It is the only way that how to represent. Okay, so this is, you can say, the art, of course. Something if you are representing in a good manner, then it is easy for you and the others, that they people are able to understand very easily, and doing that task ask very convenient way and very easily, and you can say easy manner. If you are not representing that knowledge in that manner, you can say in an easy manner, so sometimes it is complicated to know what exactly want to give that the information. Because sometimes if someone says that some message they are conveying, and some topic which is very much complicated, and some teacher of a professor came to your class and suddenly he gives some daily routine examples for that particular thing which is related to, or you can say kind of related to, so that means there's a picture, there's a concept which is clear in your mind. But if some faculty or some professor is came and they start delivering the lecture without giving any such example, like daily routine example, because if someone express or explain that from the daily routine example, then the people can easily understand, because they are going to suppose to give their expertise for explaining that. Okay, so it is very much important how to represent the knowledge. That's why here is the saying that a system that uses this form of knowledge representation is called production system. Now, a production system, of course, consists of rules and factors, and the knowledge is encoded in a declarative from which comprises of a set of rules of the form. Okay, set of rules means, as I am saying, that there is some protocol, there are something which is accordingly you have to follow the steps also. Okay, so there are some situations, on the basis of situations you are taking the action, because actions are totally based on the situation. If the situations is sometimes weird, so your actions will be different as comparative to the situations which is very much easy going, which is normal, you can say, then it is the not very much complicated, so sometimes the action is different. Okay, so as per the situation, as per the current situation, you need to take action accordingly. Okay, now next is situation means that implies action, so it can be, you can say that directly related to, directly proportional to. Okay, now the next is the components of production system. So everything which is going or going to be, there are some elements or components which are required for that system. So here I am going to tell you the major components of an artificial intelligence production system. And what are those components? First is a global database, second a set of production rules, and a control system. Global means you all know that, like if you are going to search something on Google, the Google, there are some database which have already lots of or massive information, and from that massive information you are able to retrieve the information, the data, as per your requirement, as per your interest, as per your desire. So globally, that database is open to all. And on the other hand, if we are talking about the data which is confidential, like if you are talking about the personal details of a person, Like if you are studying in school or university or the college, and of course you can say you are working in some organization, that means your data is stored there. But is it possible that someone came and ask that give me the information of the, give me the contact number of that particular person, even though he only know the name of that person, he don't know the name of the department where she works. Okay, so that person asked that key, why you are requiring and who are you, and how you are related to that person, give me your identity first of all, so let me confirm to that person. So they ask, and okay, fine, if it is okay, then they can give the information. Otherwise, because that information is very much confidential, it is not supposed to give that information to everybody. Like if we have a bank account, and of course in our bank account we have personal details also. So it is not if we are calling the bank, and then there is a message which we always heard about, that do not share your personal details to anybody, because the if you are dialing the customer care, and that agents are not supposed to ask those things. They only require their account number, okay, to give the information which you want to ask. So that is a global database, fine. And a set of production rules. Of course, in a production system, as I have already told you that in a production system there are some components also through which you are using those components to complete that production. So of course there are some rules also which you are following for the production. So that rules are called as the set of production rules, and a control system. And of course control system is important, because without monitoring, without controlling, it is not possible that your task will be completed in a given deadline. Every task should be mention the deadline, or it should be very much clear in your mind that how much time it will take to complete that task, right? So there is a requirement of a control system also. So it is a third component of a production system. Now come to the four classes of a production system. Of course there are classes which we have to find in the production system. And what are those classes? First is a monotonic production system. Second, a non-monotonic production system. Third is a partially commutative production system. And fourth is commutative production system. These are the four classes which are used in a production system. Now come to the advantages of the production system, because everything has a pros and cons. And what are those advantages? So let me tell you. First is the production system provided an excellent tool for structuring artificial programs. Okay, means if you are going to structure some program, then you can use this production system. That's why I am saying here that it is an excellent tool. Then the second one is the production system are highly modular, because the individual rules can be added, removed or modified independently. Okay. And third is the production rules are expressed in a natural form, so that statements contained in the knowledge base should be the recording of an expert thinking out loud. So these are the advantages of production system. Now come to the disadvantages of production system. The one important disadvantage is the fact that it may be very difficult to analyze the flow of control within a production system because the individual rules don't call each other. Okay, so this is the important disadvantages of production system. Then come to the classification of production system. This production system can be classified into various classes like first is the production system describes the operations that can be performed in a search for a solution to the problem. They can be classified as follows, like first is the monotonic production system. What do I mean by this monotonic production system? This monotonic means a system in which the application of a rule never prevents the later application of another rule that could have also been applied at the time the first rule was selected. Next is the partially commutative production system. What does it mean? It means a production system in which the application of a particular sequence of rules transforms state X into state Y, then any permutation of those rules that is allowable also transforms state X into state Y. So this is a kind of partially commutative production system, right? And then the separation of knowledge, that means the rules and control means recognize at second. So here I am telling you about the characteristics of the production system. Okay, so second is the natural mapping onto state space search, that is the data or goal driven. Then the modularity of production rules means rules represent chunks of knowledge. Okay. Then the pattern directive control means more flexible than algorithmic control. And next characteristic is the opportunities for heuristic control can be built into the rules, and then tracking the explanation, that is simple control or informatic rules. Then language independent. It should be independence of the language, in terms of language you can say. Then the model for human problem solving, that is SOAR and ACT. Okay, so these are some characteristics of production systems. So this is all about production system, and we will if you have any doubts, then you can also mention in the comment box also, or in the Google Meet link class you can ask your doubts. Okay, so this is all about today's session. Thank you so much for watching this. Okay, so bye bye and take care.